Hi everyone, I hope you enjoy this video where I talk about the process of freezing my eggs. I had just come back from a CE and I had a lot of people asking me what the process was like, and so I always thought it was really easy, and I guess it was harder than I realized, and I didn't realize until I shot the video. So I hope you enjoy, but I am gonna give a little bit of a trigger warning on the video, but I hope you enjoy listening to my story on why I froze my eggs, how I did it, and then I break down the financial cost as well. So I hope you enjoy.
Hi everyone. This is kind of an impromptu video. I hate that this video came highly requested. I've just gotten a lot of questions about this topic recently, and so I thought that I would hop on and share. I think overall I've been pretty honest about my story, my journey, what I've gone through to get into residency, what happened during residency, and what my startup is looking like. So yeah, I'm super open to sharing about this topic too. Let's start. If you haven't seen 2%, it was one of my first videos. Briefly discuss a near-death experience where I almost lost my life in a car accident where I was hit by a car when I was crossing the street on my way to residency. My infertility is a direct result from that car accident. So from me being hit by that SUV, when I landed 20 feet away from the impact, I landed on my skull. And I had 4 brain hemorrhages. One was a subarachnoid. I had 2 temporal hemorrhages and a frontal lobe, right frontal lobe hemorrhage. But the subarachnoid hemorrhage, my pituitary gland was affected. For those that are not in healthcare that are watching, your pituitary gland is so important for hormonal output. We need hormones for everything. They're so important. And a lot of things about hormones are just not really known until you have a hormone imbalance, and then you start to realize how important hormones are. So from the impact, because my pituitary, all of the bleeding essentially necrosed, or it didn't kill my pituitary gland, but it really strangled it, just to put it lightly. After I was out of ICU and the hospital and all that stuff, I went into menopause and I was 27 years old. I started getting hot flashes. I was super irregular. Like full disclosure, if I didn't say it in the beginning, I'm gonna talk about a lot of women's health issues. If you don't like it, don't watch the video. But like I said, I've had a lot of people ask, so I'm just gonna share. I was 27. I went into menopause. I was having hot flashes, a super irregular, just a lot of life was really uncomfortable. That was my first menopause. It was so bad. I went to endocrinology, women's health, OBGYN. Nobody knew what to do. Endocrine didn't want to put me on hormone replacement because I was too young. I was only 27 to be going through menopause. Of course, there was a male endocrinologist. And then I finally found a good OB, and she was also in a car accident in the same exact spot that I was in. And she put me through a fertility specialist, and her thought process was like, if we get you into the specialist, maybe we can figure something out. So I saw a fertility specialist. We did a lot of labs. My whole residency, most of it consisted of like going to class, going to physical therapy, going to cognitive therapy, doing lab work, doing blood draws, and like so much stuff. So again, that's why I started the blog. That's why I started my Instagram page. That's why I started YouTube. I feel like if I did it, you can too. I was in a gunner. I was an average student. I digress. This is a heavy topic. I didn't expect to get so, not sad, but yeah, one sec. Wine Wednesday. Also, stay tuned for my next business adventure, which small clue right there. But So yeah, I went into menopause when I was 27. Once I got to the fertility specialist, we did additional lab work. We were essentially looking at a lot of hormones and inflammatory markers. My testosterone was non-existent, which testosterone is really, really important in everybody, including women. And my estrogen was just, it was not there. I was in menopause and the labs were showing it. And she looked at me and she said, if you want to have kids, we need to do something about this now. I did not have a boyfriend. I was not dating. I was not even close. Like, I always wanted kids. Just something within me. I always felt like I was gonna have 4 kids. Don't ask me why, but probably because I come from a big family. Both my mom and dad have a really big family. I have a ton of cousins, and I grew up around a lot of organized chaos within my family. So I just always thought that I was going to have a big family, and to have somebody tell you, like, you cannot have kids, that was tough, especially, I'm not crying, definitely crying. I hate the videos where people record themselves and they're like sobbing. Actually, I never cried and I was never upset after I was in that car accident. The one time that I did cry, it had to do with when I found out that I couldn't have kids. And I remember having a conversation on the phone with my mom. I talk to my mom every single day, and I remember planning the surgery and everything. And she was like, "Are you sure that you want to do this?" Um, yeah, so the one time that I did cry, it was never after the car accident. Like I think I've mentioned before, but I was never upset. I think it was an accident. And the one time that I did cry was when well, twice. I think I cried twice. Once when I read my medical record because I had to get it, for my attorney and stuff. And then also when I was trying to figure out, if I was gonna go through freezing my eggs or not. And when I was told that I could not have kids, I also cried. What really sucks is when you don't have a choice over your own body. I feel like we should have a choice over our own bodies and if we want to have kids or not have kids. So I saw the fertility doctor, and essentially she said, if you want to have your own kids, we should do an egg retrieval. This part we joke about and laugh about it now, but she said, my fertility doctor, which don't ask me how she knew, I went to a really small private school, and she said, aren't you dating one of the medical students? And I was like, I had just met fourth year medical student. We had just started dating, maybe been on like 3, 4 dates. And she was like, aren't you dating one of the medical students? I said, yeah, casually. And I think match had already happened, so I knew it wasn't going to go very far because he had matched to Florida. I'm in California. So she said, you should ask him if you can have some of his sperm because the eggs alone, they don't do well. And it's going to be hard to get a large number of eggs that are viable, and they don't freeze well when they're alone. They get really lonely. And I'm like, I'm casually dating this guy. And she said, well, just ask him. Like, no, he's gonna think I'm crazy. Fast forward to 10 years later, this is my now husband. So we laugh and joke about it now, and we joke about it with all of our friends. You imagine you're dating some girl, and 2 weeks in, she's like, hey, can I borrow some of your sperm? I'm dealing with some infertility issues. He was also really kind during that process and what I was going through. And yeah, it was tough for a lot of reasons that I won't get into. But if you want to know, you can DM me, private message me, call me, text me, whatever. I will go into it, but I'm not going to share it on a public platform. But so I decided to go through the egg retrieval process on my own with just my eggs. To break it down, essentially, I had to give myself daily injections to plump up as many follicles as we could. And then once we got as many follicles as we could to get as many eggs as we could, then we were gonna I'm butchering this whole process. Then I had to take another shot, and then before I did that, like last big shot, then we did the egg retrieval process. So you're trying to time your body essentially, and I was told that I would probably need 2 rounds. Again, I was 27 when I did this, so I think like 4, 5, 6 is a good number of eggs was what I was told. So meanwhile, in residency, dealing with the car accident, um all the other stuff that I was going through, I was also going through the process of freezing my eggs. So I was timing injections, taking injections to the clinic or whatever conference I had to go to, traveling with my little freezer pack because some had to be cooled and stored. And I did that. And once I was ready, my mom flew to California and we did it was an outpatient surgery. The surgery itself is actually really easy. I would say it's a little bit more uncomfortable than a pap smear. I look like I have really good veins, but they're really rolly, and the CRNA missed my vein. There was just blood all over the floor, and as soon as the anesthesiologist just walked in, she looked so pissed. But yeah, I got a little bit of propofol. Next thing I know, I woke up and I told my mom, take me to class. I'm ready to go back to class. And my mom was like, are you sure? Obviously, it was a propofol talking, maybe the Versed. I have no idea. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I feel fine. It didn't hurt. I wasn't in any pain. I really wanted to go back to class. My attending was like, just go home, rest. And so, yeah, I went home, rested. I don't think I think I did it on a Thursday, went to clinic on the next Friday, and I was fine. But again, I was 27. I had a good experience overall. When I spoke to my fertility specialist, she said we had harvested 22 eggs and 16 are viable. I don't know how many of are viable now. Again, this was 10 years ago. But yeah, now I pay a yearly freezing fee, which is like a few $100s. I think like 200 to 400 bucks a year. The surgery itself, price wise, so let's break down financials. Yearly freezing fee, it's like 200 to 400 bucks. It's not bad. The surgery itself also wasn't that bad. It was like $2,000, I think, for the anesthesia and the procedure. Also, keep in mind, I was a resident at the time, so I had my resident health insurance. Most of it was not covered because having kids is elective, is what I found out. What was really expensive were the hormonal injections and the hormone medication. Total at that time, I think I spent around $10,000 for the whole procedure. A lot of friends ask about it. I think one financials, so at that time, 10 years ago, it was about 10 grand. I don't know what it costs now. And then plus the yearly freezing fee because you keep having to freeze your eggs. I also have systemic lupus, which there's a antibody in lupus where your body just essentially, to break it down, with lupus, your body is rejecting its own hormones, its own cells. My cells don't know the difference between healthy, normal, our own, or foreign invader. For example, at one point my kidneys were being attacked, and so it could be the same thing for a baby. And from the testing that I've had, I don't have the antiphospholipid antibody, something like that. Something with the cell body for the baby. Someone comment down below if you remember, but I don't have that, but I don't know, right? Obviously, I've never been pregnant, so I'm not sure if I could carry to term. Then what else? My feelings on it, I guess. My personal feelings. I have peace of mind. As far as this video is concerned, yeah, I was 27. I had menopause. Decided to freeze my eggs, if you will. and I just wanted to share my story. So to summarize, it's gone for the procedure, like 2 out of 10. It's not that bad. Financially, it can be really expensive. It was about $10,000 for the whole procedure, including the surgery and the medications, not including the yearly freezing fee that I keep having to pay for my 16 eggs. I get a bill every year that's a boo site freezing fee. What else? My emotional state about it, 10 out of 10. I feel really good that I did it. I was 27. After I went into menopause, it took like 3 years. I was doing a lot of IV injections, treatment for my lupus, autoimmune based diets and stuff. I'm almost 40 now, and my almost 40-year-old body is not as good as my 27-year-old body was. So I have that peace of mind knowing that something that I did 10 years ago is investing in my future self and self now. So that is like a 10 out of 10. The stigma around it was really uncommon back then. I'm not ashamed, I'm not embarrassed. It's not my fault. It's nothing I could control. So there's that. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful. I didn't expect to cry and get so emotional about it, but obviously it's a tough topic. So cheers to all the moms and soon-to-be moms and new moms and the girlies that want to be moms or that are thinking about they want to be a mom, they're just not sure. The best thing you can do is invest in yourself. That's just my personal feels. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you got something out of it. If you have any questions, you can always message me, private message me, email. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. But essentially, that was how I froze my eggs when I was 27 and going through residency, perio residency. So thank you all for watching. I really, really appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys for taking time out of your day to listen to that story and that process. Bye.